श्री गणेशाय नमः। ॐ श्री सरस्वत्यै नमः। ॐ श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरं यो अन्तः प्रविश्य मम वाचमिमां प्रसुप्तां सञ्जीवयत्यखिलशक्तिधरस्वधाम्ना अन्यांशः हस्तचरणश्रवणत्वकादीन् प्राणान्नमो भगवते पुरुषाय तुभ्यं प्राणान्नमो भगवते पुरुषाय तुभ्यम्। समचरण सरोजं सान्द्रनीलाम्बुदाभं जघननिहितपाणिं मण्डनं मण्डनानां तरुणतुलसीमालां गन्धरं कञ्जनेत्रं सदयधवलहासं विठ्ठलं चिन्तयामि विठ्ठलं चिन्तयामि। Pranams to the Lord. Pranams to all the Mahatmas in tonight's Eknathi Bhagawat session. We are doing the most beautiful part of Bhagawat, which is the 11th canto. In that, the 19th chapter, which is the sweetest. And in that, these last few verses, which Bhagwan is talking, answering Uddhava's each question diligently. You have to see answers for 32 questions tonight. We are starting from OV number 476. Over to you, Sajid.
OV 476. Ironically, I have never seen anybody as miserly as the religious man, because he takes with him this highest wealth of religion at the time of death, not keeping anything for his family. For 477. These religious people have spent their possessions for religious purposes and have appointed me, Narayana, as their storekeeper. So I have to provide for them whatever they need at any time. 478. Religion is to me the best wealth. And now I shall explain to you the meaning of yajna or sacrifice. 479. The fire is my mouth, and I receive everything which is offered as ahuti or oblation in the fire. Even if it is said that I am the very sacrifice itself, Vedas support this statement. 480. Vedas say that Brahmins are my counterparts. Those Brahmins who have received proper initiation for rituals, perform sacrifices, and have gained the bliss of my devotion. 481. But those who pile up money by wrong means and perform sacrifices without properly following the right method, with a motive to be popular in society, do not gain any happiness, though technically all the oblations are automatically coming to me. 482. They kill the animal in that sacrifice, which is not accepted by me, and because they are hypocrites, they eventually go to hell. 483. Actually, whatever is given as food to any creature is received by me, because I am the deity of worship in that sacrifice. But this secret of compassionate help to others is not known by those stupid performers, and thus the sin of killing is in their karma, which leads them to hell. 484. Those who take the initiation of my devotion and know that the whole world and the creatures are my mouth, put the oblations in the form of food to the animals, etc. I, Narayana, is their sacrifice or yajna. Now what is dakshina? 485. It is not money, it is knowledge, and when it is gained by the performer, he is lucky to enjoy the great bliss. 486. The real dakshina, which is knowledge, makes the performer really rich, which riches is never reduced even at end of the universe, because it gives solace of unity to the jiva and the Shiva. 487. The strongest principle in the whole world is prana. It is the power. It makes the mind sharp. The mind becomes very sound and active because of vital breath. 488. The mind is always dependent on prana, and to control that prana amounts to real strength. 489. Without controlling this vital breath, a man may show off how strong he is by holding an elephant by its leg and throwing it at a distance, or by killing a lion by boxing. But that is not the real power. 490. The man should know that jiva and mind are dependent on prana, and one who controls prana is to be called a man of great yogic power. 491. Now know this well, that through successful breath control, the great God Almighty comes running to meet that person forever. Such is the strength of pranayama.
भगो मईश्वरो भावः लाभो मद्भक्तिरुत्तमाः विद्यात्मनि विद्यात्मनि भिदा बाधः जुगुप्सारीरकर्मसु.
Meaning of the verse: my divine state, consisting of the 6 attributes of lordship, piety, glory, affluence, wisdom, and dispassion, each in its full measure, is real fortune, and devotion to me is the highest gain. Wisdom consists in forgetting diversity in the self, and abhorrence is shrinking from prohibited activities. 492. Uddhava had asked about piti, but instead of pointedly answering that question, the Lord began to tell about what is the best fortune. 493. This is because unless a man has got plenty to give, his piti is useless. Therefore, the Lord is telling about best fortune. 494. O Uddhava, you may ask that even a poor man may have good fortune, but really he is miserly. Only the man who can give in charity because of pity is the real fortunate person. 495. I shall tell you the greatness of that fortune which is not normally understood. 496. The best fortune consists in knowledge, desirelessness, richness, generosity, lordship or godliness, and yash, which means success and fame. 497. These 6 virtues are my powers or my fortune. Only the man who is worthy with these virtues can really show pity for the poor. 498. He who is having these 6 qualities is compassionate for the destitute. He only can give something necessary and remove the poverty of others. 499. Even to meet such a person requires luck. In short, in the whole world, no other person can have such fortune. 500. When a person is replete with all these great powers, he is the resort of pity. Only he can have the luxury of generosity, and pity is effective only because of this person. 501. I have told you about fortune in the wake of describing what is pity, and please know that he who has compassion for all beings will never suffer from any misfortune. 502. You have asked about what is the best gain. My answer is to have devotion for me is the best gain. 503. When a man has this devotion, all the 4 coins of liberations serve his feet, and great gods salute him. By devotion, I, the spouse of Lakshmi, become pleased. 504. Without this gain, any other monetary gain is a loss leading to hell. 505. So the best gain is my devotion, by which I become pleased. Now, what is vidya or knowledge? I will tell you just now. 506. When the desire binds the Atman with the body and turns the Atman into a jiva bound by that body, creating duality in unity, that is called avidya or ignorance. 507. What happens practically? The concept of varna and ashrama is born out of body identification, and duty is born out of the concept of ashrama. And when one is very proud of that duty, he thinks that he is the body. This is the sense of being a jiva, a limited unit caused by ignorance. 508. That knowledge which removes this bondage of jiva and reunites the jiva to the spiritual state of bliss is only the real knowledge. All other branches of knowledge are ignorance only. 509. So the knowledge which discards ignorance is the real knowledge, and the information and knowledge about the 14 sciences, etc., is only ignorance which has developed great foliage. 510. So self-knowledge is that which removes the bondage of jiva. Now listen to the nature of bashfulness. When a man shrinks from or abhors the commitment of bad deed, it is the quality of bashfulness. 511. Only to cover our private parts of the body is not bashfulness, It is really the desistance from committing any bad acts.
श्रीर्गुणानैरपेक्ष्याद्याः सुखं दुःखसुखात्ययः दुःखं कामसुखापेक्षाः पण्डितो बन्धमोक्षवित्.
Meaning of the verse: adornment consists in virtues like desirelessness. Happiness consists in keeping ourselves above joy and sorrow, and misery lies in gratification through enjoyment. Who is Pandit or erudite? It is he who knows the nature of bondage and the nature of liberation. 512. When a man does not turn his head towards all riches in all the three worlds, if offered to him all the empire of the 14 universes. 513. Such a desireless person is the really rich man. Even I bow before such a man of great riches of non-expectation. 514. The man who has no desire for money is actually riding on my head. He resides in my heart. Nobody else is so dear to me. 515. O Uddhava, there is a kind of joy which is very natural, which comes to a man easily when he surpasses the condition of great sorrow or the state of great elation. That joy is the real happiness. 516. When a man is in the state where another person is not required, nor any organ can give that joy, nor any objects are required to create that joy, it is called the bliss in the reality of the self, and it dwells in the heart. 517. The greatest sorrow is to forget this joy and to run after pleasures available from objects, and only ignorant and foolish persons become attracted to them. 518. The desire is never satiated, even though the pleasures of senses are experienced every day. To desire for objects surely throws one in the whirlpool of sorrow. Desire for pleasurable objects is itself sorrow. 519. The man who does not only guess what is bondage and what is liberation, but actually realizes them by experience is the real erudite, the Pandit. 520. Without attaining this realization, if a man is proud of his knowledge of Vedas and scriptures, that qualification is not useful in this spiritual life. 521. Here, in this spiritual life, only that man is learned who has perfect knowledge of bondage and freedom and has attained the real peace and the real contentment.
मूर्खो देहाद्य बुद्धिः पन्थामन्निगमस्मृतः उत्पथश्चित्तविक्षेपः स्वर्गसत्त्वगुणोदयः.
Meaning of the verse: the man who looks upon the body as his self and things which are connected with the body as his relatives is a fool. That which leads to realization of God is the real path of virtue, and that path of worldly activity is the wrong one. When sattva quality is more prevalent in the life, it is called heaven. 522. Generally, people call a man stupid if he does not learn Vedas, etc. But that stupidity is not meant on this path. Here, the man who is proud of his body is called a fool. 523. Who is more foolish than the man who is joyful by the idea that he is the perishable body and therefore goes to hell? 524. If you see wisely, you will know that the body is built up from the semen and the menses, and that is the essence, the dirt which is human life. 525. Really, the body is a bundle of bones, muscles and skin, and contents like urine and excreta. The man who does dote upon having this body as himself is the real fool. 526. And to be proud about this body is the stupidity, and to follow the path of Vedas incepted by me is the path of righteousness. 527. Only the man who has imbalanced mind criticizes the preceptor and God, and the man who does not respect the Vedas is misguided and perishes in strange awkward paths. 528. The man who jealously finds faults of the Guru, who gets angry with good meaning friends and loving relatives and disrespects his parents, is having insanity. 529. He who criticizes and hates the saints and sages and everybody is considered to be having a mind out of control. 530. The man who expresses the defects of others, blames others, and blindly trusts the word of women should be considered to have gone mad. 531. O Uddhava, it is only an ease of insane mind when a person leaves the path of righteousness and follows heretic opinions or commits misdeeds. 532. The path of Vedas should be followed, and one should live with the conviction that one is the absolute Brahman. Not to follow this path, but to behave with selfish motives is the wrong path. 533. Heaven means the sattva quality which leads to the bliss of self. To go to the region of Indra is not heaven. 534. Those who go to the region of Indra come back to this earth, but those who are imbibed with sattva quality reach the self-realization and happiness. 535. As sattva is heaven, I shall now tell you what is hell.
Narakastamunnaho bandhurgururaham sakhe gruham shariram manushyam gunadhyo hyadhyo uchyate.
Meaning of the verse: preponderance of tamas quality is itself hell. The preceptor is one's true friend, and he is no other than me, the teacher of the entire universe. O friend, human body is the true habitation. He alone who abounds in virtue is said to be really opulent. 536. When there is increase in the waves of anger, desire, and greed, the tremendous illusion overcomes the discrimination and knowledge. At that time, there is only tamas reigning supreme in the man. 537. At misty dawn, there is fog everywhere. Darkness still prevails, and one cannot see either the rising sun or things around one. One cannot decide whether it is day or night. 538. Similarly, there is confusion in our mind. We cannot decide what to do and what is our duty. We are at a loss in that peculiar mental condition. 539. This upsurge of tamas is equal to actual great hell. We should not keep the meaning of hell limited to what punishments the god of death gives to the soul. 540. This is because the sin is diminished or wiped out after the punishment of hell, but the great illusion in our mind goes on increasing the sin. The hell is not as fearsome as this condition, which itself is the worst hell of all. 541. The desire, the anger, and the greed are themselves the worst hell, but when the great illusion joins these forces, the hell becomes blinded by tamas. 542. When all these evil forces join together, it is called the turbulence of tamas, and he who is caught in this condition should himself be considered as the hell incarnate. 543. A man who suffers in the lowest level of hell can, after the term of his hell is over, come back freed of all sins, but a man with predominance of tamas is perpetually doomed to destruction. 544. Listening to all this drastic description of tamas, Uddhava's mind became very much dejected, and anxiety as to who can uplift such souls troubled his mind very much. 545. The Lord guessed what was going on in the mind of Uddhava and said, O Uddhava, only the Guru can save such a man of tamas, because Guru is the God who saves the persons being drowned in the mire of sinful worldly life. 546. Who is such a Guru? Guru is that person whom I also salute with respect and who gives the disciple the state of total spirit, the absolute Brahman. 547. Really, such a Guru is greater than Brahman also, because he is the person who indicates what is the Brahman. Who would have known or realized what is Brahman? 548. Only Sadgurus have given indications of Brahman to the people, that Brahman is that which is not born, which is not perishable, which is limitless, impossible to be cut or to be penetrated, and is beyond all measures. 549. When we respectfully adore such a Guru, we are saved forever. The greatness, the fame of the name of Sadguru is very significant. Even the god of death and the time fear the name of the Sadguru. 550. The Sadguru really becomes the true savior of the men who get drowned in the worldly affairs, discards the chain of births and deaths, and gives real solace to the disciple. 551. It is well known that the Guru is everything to the disciple. He is his real relative, friend, brother. It is he who emancipates the disciple from all the bondages and gives him the supreme joy. 552. What is home? The structure with staircase, the floors, the doors and windows is not the real house. 553. The human body is the real house, in which I, the Supreme Person, dwell. When a man performs his duty in the house, the Atman, the Ram in that house, is pleased. 554. Even gods like Indra desire the birth in human kingdom. Vedas praise the greatness of human body because liberation from samsara is possible in this human body only. 555. So we should consider our human body as our house. Now what is the meaning of real fortune? 556. He who is endowed with knowledge which does not get lost even at the end of the universe, he who has thus imperishable prosperity should be called the really fortunate, because all other possessions are perishable. 557. The opulence coming through amassing perishable money and other possessions become eventually completely lost, leading to the downfall of the man. But the knowledge of the self, which is not destructible, leads a man to realization of Brahman.
दरिद्रो यस्त्वसन्तुष्टः कृपणो योजितेन्द्रियः गुणेष्वसक्तधीरीशः गुणसङ्गो विपर्ययः.
Meaning of the verse: he who is not satisfied is the poor. He who has no control over his urges is called the unfortunate miser. He who is not attached to gunas is God, and the attachment to gunas is the downward journey of the soul. 558. Now listen to the sign of a poor man. He who is not happy, though he has crores of rupees, is the really poor man. 559. But a man may not be having even a penny with him, but has a mind which is content. He is the richest man in the world. 560. The man who has ample money, but he is so frugal that he does not take sufficient food and his mind is always greedy. This is the sign of real poverty. 561. Now who is a miserable person? It is the man who is a slave to his organ, just as a king who is tied down by his own servants. 562. If we consider our own status or nature, we are king in our own life, but this man himself becomes a servant of his own organs. 563. Normally mind has to obey the Atman and organs are servants of the mind, but he becomes the servant of the servant, which is slavery to his sense organs. Thus, by this act, he becomes the miserable person. 564. To repeat what I say is that this man becomes obedient to the urges of his organs, which are really the servants of the mind, which in turn is obedient to Atman. But he sits begging at the threshold of these organs, and as he allows them to overpower him, he becomes a miser. 565. O Uddhava, I have thus told you the sign of miserliness, but now I will tell you the sign of being the ruler or Ishwar. 566. O Uddhava, Ishwar is that man who overrules all the three worlds because he has absolutely no desire for money and woman. This statement of mine is thrice proved to be true. 567. This Ishwar is a name applicable to the man who is free from all the attributes or gunas about which you have asked. 568. But O Uddhava, the man who is attached to money and woman is really the powerless person. 569. Now I have given you the answers to your questions regarding Shama, etc. And you should understand that the man who has qualities which are opposites to the virtues under our discussion should be understood as powerless.
एत उद्भवते प्रश्नाः सर्वे साधु निरूपिताः किं वर्णितेन बहुना लक्षणं गुणदोषयोः.
Meaning of the verse: O Uddhava, these are your questions which are nicely explained by me. Actually, one should not pay attention to the good quality or the bad qualities. 570. O Uddhava, I have given you the explanations of all your questions in such a way that by considering them, a man may attain the knowledge of Brahman. 571. In this life, there are innumerable good and bad qualities. It is better to keep quiet about them because it is an endless job to go into them. 572. One should not listen to them, one should not look at them, one should not speak about them, and one should not think about them. 573. Eknath says the sign of a man having knowledge of the Brahman needs not much comment. So the Lord Sri Krishna is telling it in half a line of verse as follows.
Gunadosha gunastu bhayavarjitaha.
Meaning of the verse. The definition of good and evil is in short as follows. To look at the virtues and faults of others is evil, while to have a disposition entirely free from the habit of seeing the merits and demerits of others is virtue. 574. Brahman is one complete fullness. What place is there for good or bad qualities? Avidya becomes active and it finds faults or virtues in anything.
For Singapore, is this okay to continue? We have another 20 OVs to finish. Is that okay? Okay.
575. He who begins to critically see faults or good qualities in others should be known as having his avidya or ignorance becoming more active, and he who never looks for these may be considered to have reached the knowledge of Brahman. 576. To see defects in others is itself a great vice or disqualification, and not to look for others' vices or shortcomings is itself a virtue. 577. This is the final truth that Brahman has no defects at all. So if a man is finding faults in others, he is certainly not having the Brahman, the flawlessness of mind in him. 578. How this quality of Brahman disappears from fault seekers? Is it absent in them or does it leave them? I shall tell you what happens. 579. When there is sun eclipse due to Rahu covering the sun, it so happens that there is darkness in the daytime and stars become visible. Similarly, when avidya covers the Brahman or the mind of the onlooker, he begins seeing defects. 580. The Lord earnestly said, what I adore most is that one should not bother about good or bad qualities of others. I have thus told you what is very much important for my devotee. 581. In the universe there are 84 lakhs of beings. Even if you stop the fault-finding attitude only regarding the human race, it will help you attain freedom. 582. Perhaps you may say that while performing your own duties, we cannot avoid finding out whether there are any defects. But O Uddhava, this is a totally false observation, because doing our own duty is of quite a different nature. 583. In order to avoid committing mistakes or allowing lacunae in our behavior, it is advisable to perform our own duties only. And if one starts looking out for drawbacks in anything, then it will be equal to deceiving by the man who has come to help. 584. For example, in the process of cultivation, the land in a field is first scorched by burning ripe and dry leaves and grass, etc. in the field. But if the ready crop is burned itself, will it not amount to starvation of the farmer? 585. God has ordained duty for everybody in order to give a chance to the person to wash his defects. But if all persons start bothering about defects in everything, be sure that all will be deprived of their own welfare. 586. I will tell you a special fact. In the drama, the actors play the role of various characters, either as female or male persons, have dialogues about love, etc. But the actors themselves are not actually emotionally involved in the drama. Doing our duty should be done with a certain degree of detachment. 587. The main hinge in performance of actions laid down for the framework of social and individual life in which we live is to undertake all the duties within the stipulated limits without worrying about any apparent lacunae in it. 588. By such performance of our own duty, The dirt of doing karma with selfish interest is washed off, definitely. And please note that the seeker can attain his self only by remaining untouched by such fault finding attitude. 589. All good or bad qualities, defects, or perfection, etc., belong to the level of physical body. And as Atman is always and should be at all times beyond the body, when we do our duty with the conviction that we are Atman, we are not touched by any defects. 590. It is therefore necessary that the seekers should maintain the level of disinterestedness in the matter of defects. An adept or the master, the Siddha, never sees any defects anywhere because they see Brahman. If over and above this a man becomes aware anxiously about any shortcomings, be sure that both of them have gone astray. 591. By that mistake, the seeker loses all his progress and the Siddha is deprived of his powers. Thus, O Uddhava, this danger of committing the mistake of having a tendency to find faults is equal for both the seeker and the Siddha. 592. The whole world is full of good or bad qualities, but as a sadhaka, one should not look at them. Eknath says, the Lord Sri Krishna was very much concerned with sincere care while telling all this to Uddhava. 593. If this attitude is so much to be avoided, why has the God described himself in the Vedas, the various defects in the different actions? 594. Uddhava is going to ask a question relating to this matter, and by listening to the detailed answer given by the Lord by the mouth of Vyasa, the Jiva and Shiva will have real satisfaction and rest. 595. The Lord Sri Krishna will explain the difference of the worth and capacities of a devotee who is not free from his desires and a devotee who is unselfish. 596. As that story is very wonderful, the Eka Janardana is requesting the saints to pay attention and listeners to be receptive because the ensuing description is really sweet. Here ends the Marathi commentary by Sant Eknath on the 19th chapter of the 11th skanda of the Bhagavata Purana, dedicated to the Lord Sri Krishna.
So much, Sajid J. I know it's super late in Singapore, but if you can quickly summarize and say some just few important, and then we can finish it.
Actually, there are some nice definitions actually from today's what do you call. I can pick up few. Yeah. I went. Let me just get the verse in order. Oh, I think I went too far. Started at 470 something, I think.
477.
Okay. So we started with the about a miserly man and religious persons. That is the first thing. Then he describes what the meaning of yajna, the fire, and ahuti, the offering. Yeah. So this verse, there was one verse about this virtues that was very interesting actually. That 6 virtues. I mean, that was one interesting verse. Yeah. I don't know where it is.
That is at 497.
497. Yeah, that one.
496.
Wow, that was nice. Yeah, that 496. Yeah, he says the best fortune consists in knowledge, desirelessness, richness, generosity, lordship, and yash. Yeah, this was a nice verse. So he calls these 6 virtues as my powers or fortune. Yeah. So he then true knowledge. What is true knowledge? Also, he describes it like which is just free from bondage. Yeah, which frees you from bondage. So the knowledge which discards ignorance is the real knowledge he describes. Yeah. and that is actually self knowledge, which removes the bondage of jiva. So some qualities like desirelessness always, I mean, comes in all these many OVs. It has come like this is desirelessness has been pointed out as a good virtue. Yeah, I think I won't take too much time. So the last thing from about Sadguru also is very nice. Those two OVs about the Sadgurus, how like the Guru is that person whom I salute with respect and who gives the disciple the knowledge of Brahman, the state of total spirit. And such a Guru is even greater than Brahman because he is the person who indicates who is Brahman. That is verse 547 is very nice here. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to go into every,
Yes.
but those are basically a nice.
Some highlight points were like, what is happiness? Keeping above joy and sorrow is happiness. I like that. Keeping above joy and sorrow is happiness. Misery, who is gratifying through the sense organs, is misery. Pandit, who knows the nature of bondage and nature of liberation. So I found this were very crisp definitions. And another, when trying to search, the who is not satisfied is poor. Who has no control over urges is unfortunate. Attached to the who is not attached to the guna is God. So that also I found very crisp. And human body is actually the real house, and we decorate the other house, but we forget our body. So that I felt very nice. And it's necessary that seekers should maintain level of disinterestness in the matter of defects. So generally a satsang, and after satsang talks will happen. She is this, and oh, she didn't do this, and he didn't do this, she didn't have this, she didn't look this, that, she should have spoken like this, she should have whatever. What is the main point is forgotten. So one who is disinterested in the defects of others, that is a seeker. And our seeker should rather maintain that certain level. So I felt that point is really good. That not to discuss about people, just talk about higher and just leave it. Not to see who's not having what, or not to see that. Great. So we've completed one of the very beautiful chapter of the entire Bhagavad Puran's crux we have seen, and we'll enter tomorrow in the 20th chapter. With the closing prayers. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Shri Krishna Arpanamastu. Hari Om. Sorry, Singapore, it's almost 10:30. I can hit the bed.
That's wonderful.
Hari Om.
Hari Om. Thank you.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.